No matter how hard I tried, it was never enough. I did everything right, but I always felt wrong. This is the story I never told anyone. Maybe you know this feeling too. My name is Lily. I am 24 years old. I work in a small office. Tonight was quiet. The room felt small. The light felt weak. I sat still and listened to my breath. I felt tired in my bones. I thought about my day, emails, numbers, smiles that did not stay. I felt my shoulders drop. My hands rested on the desk. I whispered to myself to keep going. I always did. I tried hard. I tried every day. I wanted to be proud. I wanted someone to say it was enough. I knew that word. I chased it. I never caught it. Sometimes I thought I was the problem. I felt wrong, even when I did things right. I looked at the clock. It was late. The office was empty. I knew this feeling from before. It followed me home. I felt a quiet pressure in my chest. I did not cry. I took a slow breath and stayed silent. One day, I stopped trying, and everything broke. I grew up in a small house. It was always clean and quiet. There was a small desk in my room. It faced the wall. I did my homework there every night. I tried hard. When I got good grades, my parents smiled. I still remember that smile. It was short, but it mattered. I felt warm inside. I thought, this is what love feels like. They said they wanted the best for me. They said school was important. Life was not easy. I knew they were afraid. I did not question it then. I studied more. I slept less. I tried harder each year. I wanted them to be proud. I needed that feeling again. I thought good grades could save me. But every time I did well, something changed. The smile faded fast. The room went quiet again. My mother looked at me. Her eyes were calm, but cold. Then she said it. She always said it. Look at other kids. Her voice was soft. The words were heavy. I felt my back grow stiff. My hands stopped moving. I stared at my paper. I did not speak. I whispered to myself to be better next time. Other kids were always ahead. Better scores, better schools, better lives. I felt small when I heard their names. I thought love had a rule. If I did better, I would be enough. If I failed, I would lose everything. At night, I lay in bed and looked at the ceiling. I felt tired, but my mind stayed awake. I knew I could not move on yet. That promise stayed with me for years. I believed it, and slowly, it shaped who I became. I grew up, but the pressure did not leave me. It followed me into adult life. I studied well. I finished school. I found a job. I worked in a small office. I came early every day. I answered emails. I checked numbers. I stayed late. I tried hard, just like before. At home, nothing changed. My parents still asked about work. They still asked about my future. I told them I was doing fine. I told them my boss trusted me. I thought those words were enough. But soon, the questions came back. Why not a bigger company? Why not a higher salary? My chest grew tight when they spoke. I kept my face calm. I nodded slowly. I whispered to myself to stay quiet. At family dinners, I sat straight. I held my spoon. I chewed slowly. I listened more than I spoke. My mother talked about other kids. She talked about promotions and success. She talked like it was normal. I grew small at the table. I looked down at my plate. I knew this feeling too well. Still, I did not give up. I worked harder at my job. I stayed later than my coworkers. One afternoon, my team had a meeting. My name was not called when tasks were given. I sat there, smiling, as something sank inside me. One day, my boss praised me. He said my work was good. He smiled and nodded. That night, I went home early. I carried that smile with me. My steps felt light on the stairs. I thought this time was different. I believed they would be proud. For a moment, everything felt calm. I told my parents about my work. I spoke slowly. My voice was soft. I waited for their reaction. My father stayed silent. My mother looked at me. Her eyes moved, not her face. She paused, then spoke. Other kids your age lead teams now. Her voice was flat. My hands froze on my lap. The room seemed smaller again. The air left my chest. I did not answer. I looked at the floor. I whispered to myself not to cry. My father added one line. He is younger than you. Then he looked away. Heat rose to my face. My back grew stiff. My mouth stayed closed. I cleared the table in silence. Plates touched. Glasses moved. No one stopped me. Later that night, I sat alone. I ate cold food. The clock ticked loudly. I turned off the light. The room went dark. I stayed still for a long time. I was tired, but sleep did not come. I thought about my life. I knew I was trying my best. I whispered to myself that night, just try harder. I said it many times. Days passed. Weeks passed. The pressure stayed the same. I carried it quietly. Then something happened. I did not see it coming. That evening, I went home earlier than usual. The house felt quiet, but not empty. I took off my shoes and walked slowly inside. I heard my parents talking in the living room. I did not plan to listen, but my feet stopped on their own. My mother spoke first. Her voice was low and careful. She talked about other families and other kids. She said people were watching us. She said she did not want to fall behind. I felt my hands start to shake, and I stayed still. Then my father answered her. His voice sounded tired. He said life was hard and unfair. He said being average was dangerous. He said he was afraid I would suffer like him. I felt my breath slow down, and my heart beat louder. I stood there without moving. My fingers felt cold. My back touched the wall. I did not speak. I did not step away. I knew I should stop listening, but I could not. They did not talk about my grades. They did not talk about my job. They talked about fear. They talked about losing face. They talked about pressure from others. I felt something heavy drop inside me. For a moment, there was silence in the room. No one spoke. I closed my eyes and took one deep breath. My body felt weak, like I had run too far. I walked back to my room slowly. I sat on my bed and stared at the floor. I whispered to myself, trying to understand. Was this really about me? That night, I did not sleep much. My body felt heavy when morning came. I sat at the table with my parents, and the room felt tight. My hands were cold, and my back stayed straight. I knew this moment would come, even if I feared it. I started to speak, but my voice shook. I felt my throat close, and I paused. I looked at my mother, then at my father. I thought about all the years I stayed quiet. I whispered to myself to be brave, just once. I told them how hard I tried. I said I worked late and gave my best. My hands were shaking on the table. I felt my heart beat fast in my chest. I knew I could not stop now. Then my fingers slowly slipped off the edge of the table. My hands dropped into my lap. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. The room stayed still. I took one short breath and waited. Then I said the words I held inside for years. I am tired of being compared. My voice was low, but clear. The room went silent. No one moved, and no one spoke. My mother looked down at her hands. My father stared at the wall. I felt tears run down my face, slow and warm. I did not wipe them away. I let them fall. I told them I felt small every time they talked about other kids. I said I felt never enough, even when I tried hard. My shoulders dropped as I spoke. My breath came short, then long. They did not answer right away. The silence stayed between us. I took one deep breath and closed my eyes. My body felt weak, but my words felt real. I stopped talking and waited. My hands rested still on my knees. I felt empty, but also lighter. I knew something had changed, even if I did not know what came next. After I spoke, the room froze. No one moved. My mother stayed still, her hands tight in her lap. My father lowered his head and did not look at me. I felt the air grow heavy, and my chest shook with slow breaths. I thought they would argue, but no words came. My mother did not speak. Her eyes stayed on the table. I saw her fingers shake, just a little. My father pressed his lips together and stared at the floor. I knew they heard every word. I felt my legs go weak, and I sat back in my chair. The silence felt louder than shouting. For a long moment, nothing happened. I heard the clock on the wall. Tick, tick. I took one deep breath and held it. My hands rested on my knees, still shaking. I whispered to myself to stay calm. My body felt tired, like after a long run. Then my father moved. He lifted his head slowly and spoke in a low voice. He did not defend himself. He did not explain. He whispered that he was sorry. The word sounded small, but it was real. I felt something loosen inside my chest. My mother took a slow breath, looked down, and wiped her eyes. She stayed quiet and nodded once, very slowly, without looking at me. No excuses followed. No anger rose. I knew this moment was different. The pressure did not vanish, but it cracked. I felt the weight shift. Even before I stood up, the next few days felt slow and heavy. We moved around the house like strangers. No one raised their voice. No one mentioned other kids. I felt the silence follow me from room to room. I thought about my words again and again. I knew I could not take them back. One evening, my mother came to my room. She stood at the door and did not enter. Her shoulders looked lower than before. Her hands were empty, and they shook a little. I sat on my bed and waited. My heart beat fast, but I stayed still. She spoke very softly. She did not look at me at first. Then she said, "I was wrong." The words fell into the room and stayed there. I felt my chest tighten, and my eyes burned. She took one small step forward and added, "I am sorry." Her voice broke at the end. I did not answer right away. I felt tears run down my face. My hands pressed into the blanket. I whispered to myself to breathe. I knew this was hard for her too. I thought about all the years we lost in silence. My father stood behind her. He did not speak. He nodded once and looked away. That small action said enough. I took a deep sigh and wiped my face. I told them I needed time. They nodded and did not argue. That night, the house felt different. Not happy, not fixed, but honest. I felt tired, yet lighter. I knew healing did not come fast, but it had finally started. Months later, life looked calm from the outside. I woke up, went to work, and came home like before, but something inside me felt different. I felt less tight in my chest. I thought more slowly. I knew I did not need to run anymore. At home, we talked in a new way, not much, but more honest. My parents asked about my day, not about other kids. Sometimes my mother stopped herself in the middle of a sentence. I saw her pause and breathe. I felt that change. Even when no one named it, we were not perfect. There were quiet days and small mistakes. Old habits did not disappear fast, but when tension came, it did not stay long. I whispered to myself that this was enough for now. I knew healing was not loud. I also changed. I stopped working late every night. I learned to rest without guilt. When I made mistakes, I did not punish myself. I felt proud of small steps. I thought that my life finally belonged to me. One evening, I sat alone at my desk before dinner. The same table, the same light. The room looked just like before, but my chest stayed calm. I took a slow breath and did not rush. Later, I sat with my parents after dinner. No pressure filled the room. The light was warm and soft. My mother smiled at me, not wide, but real. I smiled back, slow and quiet. For the first time, I did not feel afraid. You were never born to live by someone else's measure. I say this now because I learned it slowly. When I chased approval, I lost myself. When I compared my life to other kids, I felt never enough. I know this pattern, and I choose to stop it. Life is not a race with one finish line. People grow up at different times and in different ways. Good grades, a big job, or a high salary do not define your value. I believe real worth comes from honesty and self-respect. When I listen to my own needs, I feel calm. When I move on at my pace, I heal. I share this because many people feel quiet pain like mine. I had to learn this the hard way. If you feel pressure from family or society, pause and breathe. You are allowed to choose your own path. You are enough, even now. Lily's story may sound quiet, but it does not stay in the past. It connects to real life today, and it connects to you. What happened to her is not rare. Many people feel this way now, even if they never say it out loud. You live in a world full of comparison. Family pressure, social media, and work goals push you to measure your life every day. When you compare too much, your self-respect slowly becomes weak. Over time, this pattern hurts both your mind and your body. One important lesson is about personal boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They are clear lines that protect your energy and your time. When someone compares you to others, you can pause and choose not to accept it. You do not need to explain everything. You are allowed to say no, even to people you love. Each time you do this, you build quiet strength inside yourself. Another lesson is to stop chasing approval. Approval feels good, but it never lasts long. When your value depends on praise, you feel empty after it fades. You have already tried hard enough. Instead of checking other people's opinions, start checking your own effort. When you respect your work, you feel more stable. When you trust yourself, you move forward with less fear. Finally, choose self-respect every day. Self-respect grows from small actions. Rest when you are tired. Speak honestly when something hurts. Move on at your own pace. You have already survived many hard moments. You are not behind. You are learning, and that is enough for a meaningful life. Have you ever felt not good enough, no matter how hard you tried? I ask this because I felt it for many years. I thought I was alone with that quiet pressure. I knew how heavy it can feel at night when no one sees it. If my story touched you, you are not alone. If you have felt this way, comment 1 below. You don't have to explain. Just let me know you are here. Sometimes, one small sign is enough to feel seen. I read the comments, and I take them seriously. Your voice matters here. If this story helped you in any way, please like this video. It helps more people find it. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories like this. I will be here, sharing and listening. Take care of yourself.